Good morning, Reaper people. How are you? Hi, Jetta Jared. No, it's not soon. It's now. We need now TM. I don't know how many people we actually have in the chat room, but we have at least one. So we'll pause for a second. If you're out there, chat room, speak up. Let me know who you are. Say hello to me. If you're not here, if it's just Jedi Jared, we're going to be so sad. There, you're alone first. Hi, you get me all to yourself today, Jedi Jared. Let's just paint. There we go. Now we have, yes, now everybody else is pouncing in. They didn't want you to monopolize my attention. Coos and Nomad Zeke and Muses, hello, and Coffee Nerdery Beer, C and B. Adoring sobbing fans of Anne. You can't sob. I'm still working for Reaper. I'm just like streaming from California, and who doesn't like that? You got to be happy that I'm going out there to be happy with my guy. That's all. And for those who didn't hear yesterday, Ed and I did an announcement on the Ed Show, also known as Terrain Tuesday. So yes, that I am abandoning Reaper, just only spatially though. It is, Iffy, it is. It's very, it's bittersweet. I mean, I've been here almost 17 years. It was 17 years on April 1st, so I'm pretty much going to fill out my 17 years. Oh, you're pouting, kid. Oh, he still gets to watch my streams. And I might even have more stuff, like, you know, like I'll have more time for the Patreon, and I might do some YouTube stuff, you know, stuff like that, so. Hello, hello. Yeah, Reaper West Campus. Yes, let's call it that. Yeah, Coobs, if you didn't hear, I was going to do a Patreon post last night, but I actually ran out of time, so I'm going to do one today instead. But yeah, so I am moving out to be with my boyfriend, David. Fill in your bingo card, to quote Reaper John. And because we've been dating for a year, and just long distance is a pain in the butt, as I'm sure many of you who know can say. So yeah, I'm excited. The weird West Coast ReaperCon, yeah. Well, I will be doing some seminars out there, so if you're in the neighborhood, you know, just keep an eye on my Facebooks and my Twitters and all that. But yeah, good morning, good morning. So I will be moving. I will be here. I think my last day at Reaper is the 26th, and then we'll probably, I don't know what we're gonna do for like that week and a half or 2 weeks, because I'm gonna be moving. So the 11 a.m. show may be temporarily taken over by who knows who. But yeah, so we're going to do that, and then I will be streaming for Reaper still from California. Sorry, Muses. I actually did live out on the East Coast for a year. I lived out north of Baltimore, and I liked it out there, actually. I liked the East Coast a lot. But this time it's my time to try out the West Coast, because I've lived north, south, east, and now it's time to live west, because I grew up in Wisconsin. I moved to Texas for Reaper. I lived out in Baltimore for a year. Now it's time for San Francisco. So... But yeah, so it'll be fun. It'll be fun. And weirdly, I'm moving back to the town I was born in, which is so wacky. Yeah, Verlina, there you go. Woo, it's not that serious yet. We're trying out. We're doing the test drive, right? We're living with each other to see if we kill each other. I firmly believe in the test drive. I absolutely do. But yes. Thank you, Daffodware. Yes. David Diamondstone, ReaperCon instructor. We started dating last year, right about this time. So yeah. Yes, I know, the audacity of David. We can all blame him. It's all good though. Like I said, still streaming, still good. Yeah, I've got a lot of good stuff being packed up to move, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm going to still be streaming. For me, it's going to be 9 a.m. We might move it to 9:30 a.m. for me, which would be 11:30 for you guys, just to see. We'll see how it works out, right? Because it is 2 hours earlier out there. But yeah, we're going to keep doing it. Ed was all enthused about it yesterday. It's all cool.
So I would say that all of the from home streams that you guys have seen so far have been in preparation for this exact thing.
Yes, we've been secretly planning this for a while. Yes, as Colin says, that's why I've been streaming from home and making sure that my setup is good. We will have to revamp the setup for my new area in the apartment, but I don't anticipate a lot of changes. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. Yay, Trashorama subbed. That's another sub. It's our first sub for today. We had 3 yesterday. We got 1 today. We got somewhere between 13 and 15 the other day. Oh my pen decided to break. No, pen, don't break. There. But yeah, so there we go. Justin is still missing. I'm not certain. I think he may have been swept away by the rushing water.
I believe this morning, the reason he gave me was the power went out in his house at about 4.
Oh, okay.
So he was supposed to replace his water heater this morning. He was hoping, well, he was unlikely to be here for the show either way, but
Yes.
it also sounds like this may also impact the afternoon show as well. So we'll see.
Oh, well, we'll see. Well, if I get Collins 2 times a day, I'm okay with that. Yeah, I heard, Planer. I heard. 1,000 members on Discord is huge. I keep telling people to go and give questions to Questionable Anne, because when we hit 30 for the month, we'll schedule the AMA where I start answering all your Questionable Anne questions.
That's not that far off, folks. So
yeah, it isn't. I mean, we've already, if we were at 15, now we're at 19, so we only need 11 more subs.
So tell your friends.
Yeah, Kernico, I'm looking forward to it. I have some painter friends out there other than David, so I actually have friends in the area. Some of them very long time friends that for over 20 years in the community. So, and then some new friends who I just met last year. So yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be fun. All right. Anna's hidden the body. Yes. Oh, and that was the other thing is Ed wanted us to create many wild rumors of why I was leaving and spread them over the internet. He wants to see how crazy it gets.
He does like to do that. He just wants to stir the crazy pot.
Yeah. Nomad Zeke, if I ever do a finger painting, I will do it on my Patreon. That seems to be more appropriate. I'll do it as bonus content. Yes, yes. Hey, Rhonda, did you hear? I'm leaving. The official announcement was made yesterday that I'm moving to California, and I'm still going to stream with Reaper, just remotely. Okay, you have to talk. Yeah, go ahead, Planer. I mean, set it up, all that sort of thing. No rush. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be doing stuff.
See not, my man. Thank you very much for that raid.
Thanks for the raid. That means I actually have to start painting.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Yes. Yes. Solid white. Oh, that's a good question, Bishop Odo. All right. So solid white, dragon white, and pure white. There is a difference, actually. Mostly between dragon white and pure white, it's just the pigment count. Pure white has a very high pigment count. Yes? Oh, I was touching my mic. Oh, no.
Freestyle, thank you for that raid as well.
Yeah, I'm still going to do the morning stream, Bird with a Brush, even though it's going to be much earlier for me. So yeah, solid white is actually made in a different base entirely. So it's made in a different white base, and it has different characteristics. It's a little more fluid, but it also has a little bit better coverage out of the bottle. That's why it was HD. Oh my. Rating with a party of 2. Thank you, Freestyle. Thank you. All right. So let's go and start this actual content, you know. It might be good. Talk a little less about California, talk a little bit more about NMM. And I'm going to depart from my usual craziness with NMM and do something completely different. Well, moderately
Before you
different.
go too far, Anne, can you tell, since we had a bunch of people just join us, what all we've done to this model?
Oh, yeah. She's been a little bit. She was my subject for yellow. I was experimenting with a new dark skin tone on her, so her face, although I've got the camera tuned to show the gray areas better, so sadly you can't see much, but I was working with a very dark, like blue shadowed, but then worked it up to like reds and oranges skin tone. And we used her before to show 2 different ways to do yellows, so a very saturated, intense way, and a more desaturated yellow that was more with ochres. So that's what we have done thus far. I'm going to work on the hair at some point. I'm just not happy with the color. I'll probably darken it down, highlight it. But anyway, what we're working on today is I thought I would do some Gold NMM with a little bit of an unpredictable or a different color triad than just the Gold NMM triad. And because I want a very warm color, because she's got a lot of very saturated hues to her, so I don't want anything too muted. So yeah, I've been working lately with NMM and using the 2 leather colors from Bones in NMM. So rich leather 9429 and polished leather 9430. And this one especially makes a really nice, really rich and orangey color when you mix it with your NMM gold highlight right there. So I'm liking this lately for NMM, and it goes a different direction than using the triad, which is more like an intense yellow ochre color, and then a color that's probably a little darker and more muted than this. So this is a different way to do it, and I've kind of tested it. I was testing it on a creature caster model I had at home, So now we're going to play with it in front of you guys. And I want to teach you a few things about highlighting, like if you want to do NMM armor that has a lot of detail on it, like the scales here, how you go about doing that. The old way that a lot of people used to do it was just to paint every single individual scale, but that's not technically correct visually. So we're probably going to have to change our settings too once I start base coating this, because it'll be darker then.
I was more worried about focus.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, there we go. So here we go. So I'm like essentially mixing a whole bunch of rich leather with a little bit of black and brown. I do want to start pretty dark for some of my stuff. I'd say I'm probably up to about 8-to-1 at this point. And I'm going to throw some water in there. Oh wait, I have my bottle of water. Here it is.
And you prefer to use the actual dripper for the bottled water? You don't just like load the brush up in?
I do both, depending on how fast I'm working. If I'm being methodical about it, I use the dropper usually at the start of the mixing session, the start of the painting session. But as it goes on, if I'm just grabbing some of this and transferring it to a new well and adding more highlight color or something, I will often just do a brushful. Really, a brushful is about equal to a drop from the dropper. So drops, when I write my handouts, my PDF handouts for Patreon, I always put drops/brushfuls. Because usually if you're working with a brush about that size, if you have it full of water, it'll be about the same amount of water as one drop from that. So, and you don't have to be really too persnickety about it.
Science.
Indeedy. This is why, oh, I just lost my train of thought. Whoa, oh yeah, this is why I want to teach you guys more like the paint consistency to aim for and less like a drop ratio, because I add a different amount of water to all my colors. It's going to vary by pigment, because pigments have, all the different pigments have different coverages and, you know, different characteristics. So you can never use just a straight up ratio for everything. Instead, I like you guys to I like to encourage people to learn paint consistency, to learn the consistency they want to get to. So that way you always can hit it. It doesn't matter. You don't have to worry about how many drops, or if your drops are a little bit off from your brush, because really you're aiming to get to a certain consistency. So as you can see, this makes a really nice, warm, almost bronze color, and you could use this color to go up to bronze. It's really good for that because it's a little bit greenish. If you look at it, especially next to the polished leather that we'll be using for highlights, rich leather has a definite greenish cast. And he was swept away by the floods here in Texas. That's what Mr. Sexy Voice, I'm sorry, that's what happened. Oh yeah, thanks M5. Yeah, I'm excited. Like, I'm nervous because I'm going to be freelancing for the first time in ages, but I'm also really happy that I get another shot at it, and excited. And of course, like, living with my guy is going to be like super fun, so I can't wait. Yay. Because I finally get to cook for somebody other than just me. All right. So yeah, so as you can see, this is about 8 drops of the rich leather and 1 of black and brown, 9137. And it makes a beautiful bronzy hue over that. And it's also, since I like to start dark and work up, it's a good base coat color in general. So I'm going to base coat all of this stuff here. You can also see that I'm using a slightly thinned base coat, which is possible because I am utilizing a model that I washed. Bones black are just like bones. If you wash them, you can get away with a nice thin base coat without priming the model. And I like that. I like thin base coat because I like to work up from, and probably with quite a few layers. But I like to put the shadow color over everything before I start blending over the top. That way I've got a solid coat, and if I'm wet blending, I don't have to worry about getting coverage in that same coat. I know I already have a nice high coverage coat underneath it. That's one of the reasons I add the black and brown, both to darken it down and because there's some oxide pigments in black and brown that are high coverage. So essentially, even with the thinned coat, this mixture color now has better coverage than rich leather on its own.
So Anna, I know that we are working on particular skill sets on models like this. If you were painting this model from beginning to end, would you be worried about getting the paint on the skin at this juncture, or? I
would be, not really. I mean, I would probably have finished the skin by now. Essentially, I start with the skin and I let myself be messy. You can even see, like, there's messy areas on our bracer and stuff that I didn't clean up. So I start with the skin, I let myself be messy, I finish the skin entirely usually, and then I move on to the next thing. So as I move through the model, I'm essentially just going to be careful when I'm up near the skin, when I'm just getting near to the edge. I can be pretty, wild with my brush, but when I get close to the edge, that's where I tighten it up. So yeah, it's I do tighten up my control for base coating as I go through the model as more and more gets painted. But I mean, with the skin, yeah, I probably would have gone with like maybe, I probably would have done the jewelry maybe. I usually work out from the skin, so I'm not sure where I would have done the armor. Or I might have done the armor after I finished out the skin just because I wanted to see how it compares, right? How light this actually comes up to. Because as Gold NMM, it should come up quite a bit.
Pyromancer's Charge, thank you very much for that sub. You
Oh, yay!
added another one to our list. I think we're at 10 more in order to get Q&A time with Anne.
Yay! Yes. So yeah. All right, so let's just go there. So that's really nice. So one thing I wanted to say also is actually, with a thing like this, we're going to address this today too. With a thing like this center part here, at her, I wonder how she sits. I'm not even going to guess. I'm going to guess, I have no idea. But anyway, with something like this, where I want to use a different background color, whereas some of the details like the skull here, I'm going to probably keep NMM gold, but then I want to do something different in these little sections here, I will still paint the whole thing in this, and then I'm actually probably going to go in and do the red. And do the gold on this, at least these little traceries and edges, I'll do that last. I want to be able to paint the red without worrying about hitting the NMM, so I do the red first and then do the NMM all around it. And we may get to that today. I doubt it. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow. Oh, wait, I'm not here tomorrow. Hey, that's a good reminder. I am off to the wilds of Santa Fe, New Mexico tomorrow. I will be gone, so we will not have the stream tomorrow morning, or we will have to find some unlucky sot to do the stream. All right, so, but you can see that's a nice rich color. I really like this. Actually, for bronze, I would bring this up just from that color. But if we want to get closer to gold, we have to work with more gold colors. There. And I might even do that. Now, there are two ways to get like more of a golden yellow. If you want a really vibrant gold, you want to add some yellow to it probably. You can do this two ways. You can either add your yellow straight up to these colors as we work them onto this model, or you can glaze with this color at the very end. So either way, hey, Art of Mike Disney and Rathmore and everybody who I haven't said hi to yet. Yeah, so there we go. So what we're going to do is first get our little colors together here, mixed up on the side. And then I'm going to show you how, and actually you can kind of see it. So, all right, let's just turn the model so we can see the highlights. All right, so say you've got an overhead light source. As I was saying earlier, in the old days, everybody just highlighted every scale, right, and did it all as separate stuff. But if you look at it in reality, this entire area of armor has a consistent highlight that goes down to a shadow. So in reality, we should paint this entire group of scales all lighter. We shouldn't do an individual NMM effect on every one like they did in the past. So we're going to do that. We're going to block it in and highlight this more like this is one giant plate of NMM, and then pick out our details a little bit better. Hey, Rings. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Art of Mike Disney. Yeah, I made an announcement yesterday that I'm departing physically from Reaper, and I'm moving out to California. So, to join my boyfriend, because long distance sucks and it's been a year. But yeah, so I am excited, and things are exciting and changing a lot for me right now. And now y'all can see how I've been like busy and kind of had time constrained because I've been packing up my house at the same time as I'm doing all the rest of this stuff, working a real job and doing Patreon and doing all the rest of it. So yeah, my time has been a little bit tight. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'll still stream, see, though. See, this is why Ed is calling this a relocation Art of Mike Disney, because I'm still sponsored by Reaper, and they still are going to have me stream. It's actually why we've been testing the Monday stream at my house.
Absolutely. Plus, we're going to use that as the jumping off point to getting other artists into streaming that have the
Yes,
that have
exactly, exactly.
We are trying to fill up the day with awesome Reaper content.
Yeah, I'll still be doing my morning stream Art of Mike Disney. No problem. Yeah, I like streaming for you guys in the morning. It's actually a good start to my day, so thank you for keeping Anne, Reaper. Yes, give Reaper props on that. All right, so here we're going to mix up about 6 drops of the rich leather and 1 drop of the NMM Gold Highlight. Let me get those paints back on camera here. And this one is about 6 drops of the other with 2 drops of the rich leather. So notice how I'm mixing a little bit of the previous color into. Ed's going to buy you a separate paint machine. No, Jacob, but actually, I don't know about this, but Secret Weapon actually has a paint mixer, so you know.
Sometimes you just got to run on down and make a little of your own.
Yeah. See, I could abuse their paint workshop if I absolutely had to. But actually, I already talked to Ed, and if I want to make a custom color or something, I can come back to Reaper and make it and just get it shipped out to me. So that sounds a lot better. That way I don't have to.
That yellow is so
I can
yellow.
come back down here. This is, yeah, it is. We need to bump down our saturation a little bit, I think, because I want it to look like it actually looks like. So let's see here. I'm trying to figure out which way are we going? That's more like it. Yeah, that's really close actually. That's good. And then can we still see everything? Yeah, we can still see everything.
Yeah.
So we're good. All right. We'll work with this and see if it stays good.
Yeah, worst case scenario, we can take a picture and make sure that it gets posted to the old socials or on Discord.
We could do that. All right, so let's see if I can just block this in and wet blend the edge a little bit. I'm going to start with my rich leather, and I'm going to kind of concentrate on this hip area here because that's, as you can see, that's where the highlight is.
Shakira.
Yes, totally. The hips don't lie. And I'm not going to worry about coverage here because any of the little dark spaces between the scales that I leave are, stuff that I don't have to touch up later. What I do need, though, is I need pure white. I forgot. Well, on NMM, any NMM, remember, unless it's completely tarnished NMM, but on any normal non-metallic metal, you need to go up to pure white because that's what says that the area is shiny. And then, let's see, it's probably going to be in the middle of that area that's going to be even brighter. There we go. We're going to take a little bit of the polished leather mix and kind of bring it down here.
Twisted. No, we have a dedicated group of folks that sit around and just harass customs for us. But it would be funny to see Anne out there just getting them.
Get them. Sick 'em, man. Sick 'em. Get those bones. I'm going to bring this down a little bit more. And also, since this area is somewhat rounded because it's a hip, do keep your highlight kind of round as well. You want to suggest the shape of the area. Down here I'm highlighting because I want to suggest light bouncing back up from the environment. So I want a little bit of highlights down there. I want to lighten it just a tad. And I want to leave the shadow where I did. I might even darken that a little bit in a little bit. Because that's what we need to get to make this really look convincingly shiny, is we need a brighter highlight next to darker shadows. So, and I probably need to thin my paint a little bit. That's also the nice thing about starting with a base coat and then wet blending over the top of it, is that you can thin down your wet blending paints so you can get away with less paint and it stays wet for longer and you can work it a lot better. Let's see here. Let's get our pure white. Get some water in that.
So now that the metal or the color has gone into the groups, that's not a bad thing? Or is
no, I'll have to touch it up later probably. Yeah. I'll touch it up essentially. First we block in our highlights and shadows, then we go and we hit like individual scales with say little highlights, right? Mm-hmm. And then we assess if we need to go back and add some additional shadows in here, but we might not need to. Because once I add a pure white highlight on each of these little scales, they're going to stand out, even though the darkest shadow is gone from around them, right? But they're still going to be darker than this light gold color, or lighter, sorry. Then the highlight will be lighter than the dark gold color. So it should still work. And if not, I can just line. I can essentially take my shadow color, go back in, and just line around the few scales that I filled in.
We learned about that yesterday. Brush control.
Yes, brush control. It's your friend. So now I'm going to actually be a little bit more careful. I'm going to hit some of these individual scales. Not going to fill them in completely. Still want my shape to kind of be, evident, but that brings up some details, see? So now you can see the scales a little bit easier. I think I might need to go down a peg with that color, though, as I get around to the side here. So yeah, and this goes for any like scale mail or chain mail, both of which are very common on miniatures, that you want to highlight it and shade it as a mass, and then go in and pick out some details. It's going to give you a much more realistic effect, especially on a big mini like this. But even on 28mm, when I do chainmail, I do it just like this. I block in the whole area, and I don't worry too much about individual links or anything.
These are the same steps you would do on 52 or 72?
Yep. Actually, she is close to a 72mm.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. Or even on a 28. Like, there's less room to work on a 28, and it depends on the size of the scales on the 28. But in general, like I said, chainmail works that way. So.
What about like a 1-to-1?
Yeah.
What's the largest thing that you have painted, Anne?
That would be Soldier 76. That's a 1/6 scale figure, which means 6 feet is 1 foot. So he was 12 inches tall. And that took me a long time. It was a very, very, very long time. So look, it's looking like gold, guys. Do you see? And a very rich, pretty gold, too. I'm actually very happy with the color gamut on this, though I may glaze it again. So I have to put some highlights on it. I need to put a darker shadow if I want it to be very shiny looking. Like, she's an F-reedy. She probably would have some bling. So I'm going to grab some black and brown, which is, if you remember, it's what I mixed into my shadow color. So you're going to see a theme here, right, guys? And I reiterate this a lot about how I'm mixing a little bit of each color into the next color. So, yeah, and this could also go brass, but brass and gold highlight very similarly, actually. If you look at brass, it's very yellow, just like gold is. So if I wanted to take this more brassy, I'd take it a little less saturated, and I would put some green shadows in for verdigris. So yes. Let's see, make sure I'm catching up on any stuff. But yeah, so essentially this color was built with rich leather and black and brown. So now when I shade it, I'm going to go down to pure black and brown. So I'm keeping my colors consistent. And then this color is rich leather with NMM gold highlight added to it. Or sorry, it's polished leather. Let me see. I skipped a step because these two are actually pretty close. But in general, I'm adding a little bit of everything. I'm trying to make the colors go together better. So if I see one that doesn't, then I add a little bit of that color into the next color. All right, black and brown. We'll see if black and brown is dark enough. Usually you want to go down to walnut, but black and brown may have enough contrast. Ellen, what I essentially, and we've actually talked about this, but I'll talk about it gladly again. So NMM's advantage is that you can control where your highlights are going, and that it photos much better for gallery work. So a lot of people like it because it does photograph better, and they like the ability to control like the color of the shadows and things like that, and also where the highlights fall. NMM, or a metallic flake, means that you just put it on and you can still shade and highlight it, but you have a lot less control. It generally doesn't photo as well. I like it for larger things a lot better than I like it for smaller things. But little details like this, if I want these little scales to all stand out, it's much easier to do that with NMM than it is with a gold flake, because you can't control the flake being in the shadows. You can't control where the light is in the room. So really, if you're trying to make a model that say you're doing a lighting effect where the light is coming from a particular direction, metallics will always foil you there. Because they will always reflect the light in the room. They won't let you control it. So both techniques are awesome, and I do a lot of metallics with bigger models because I love the way that metallic flake looks on like busts and things. But with smaller models and fine details, I tend to go in MM.
So Alan, I prefer to use just straight metallics on my army models. So if I'm doing a bunch of army models, I'll put the metallic there because they're 3 or 4 feet on the table, 3 or 4 feet away on the table, and you're moving them around, touching them all the time. So you're less likely to ruin some of those painting details. Yeah,
and actually the metallic bases do have better adhesion than normal paint. So if it is being handled a lot, metallic is a good call. Also good for D&D models in general. Yeah, you can definitely get great results with shaded metallics and by highlighting them also. All right, I'm going to put a little bit of this black and brown. I'm going to kind of look to get an idea of where I need it. Let's do that. That's a darker shadow. It's very dark. I'm going to bring in a little bit more of my general. I'm going to glaze it probably. I need to thin this down a little bit. Put it in another thing. If you have a big puddle of paint that's pretty thick and you know you need it a lot thinner, just transfer some of it to your other well of your palette and work with it there. It's much easier than trying to thin the whole thing.
And this is where we go back to Anne using the brush full of water, or a loaded brush of water, to help thin down that paint versus using the dropper bottle.
Yeah, because I'm trying to work a little faster. I already have my basic paint mixed up for its consistency. So I'm essentially, if I'm in the groove, I'm just grabbing the brush full of water. So we took that down and it's way down. And I don't know that I want it to be that way down, but we can do something about this. We can actually grab a little bit of this and highlight a couple of scales to kind of break up that really dark shadow now. If I decide that it's too much and I didn't want it that dark, I can totally do that. I'm going to wait for it to dry though. I used a lot of water. I guess while I do that, I can kind of get this upper area here. So yeah, actually these are the colors that I was originally using them for brass, so that was a good catch. Whoever mentioned brass. How am I thinking for glazing? Just throwing water in it, Art of Mike Disney. Essentially what I want is I want colored water. So since I use a well palette, a porcelain well palette, I am just looking at how it falls off of there. Often I will kind of glaze my thumbnail just to see. I want to make sure that you see that's about perfect because it just colors it a little bit. Where it's pooling, it's a little darker, but I don't want it to pool. So there. So that's about my glaze consistency. So I'll usually just throw water into it. Yes, Silverthorn, you were the one. So this is actually a color combo that I was using for brass. So it's good that it looked that way for you. All right, I'm gonna glaze to bring it up. I might glaze with a little bit of that in there. There we go. So one way we can bring this back up is to glaze it, and the other way is to highlight the scales individually. So I'm going to glaze first. Lets me kind of work in the color on both sides. Remember, we also have to work on surface control. No, Colin says a real big mic on a boom. Boom, boom, boom. Now I have to wait for my glaze to dry. Actually, I need to siphon some of that paint out of the cracks too, just lightly with a damp brush. That'll make it dry faster. Just don't swallow the mic. You're good.
At ReaperCon, Matt gave me the same kind of advice. And so really what it comes down to is I'm not a huge fan of putting my lips like right in front of or on top of a microphone because it just weirds me out too much.
Yeah.
Not a huge germaphobe, but there are things that just don't work for me. And that's always been one of them.
Yep. I get you. I totally understand that. All right, so after I glazed, I went back with this mostly polished leather color with a little bit of my NMM gold in it. And I just touched up some of those really dark scales. So I still have my black and brown in the cracks down here, but my scales are lighter, and I'm much happier with how that's working, though I do think I need to bring up my highlights a little bit here on the bottom. So this is me just tuning. Now I'm looking at it and I'm essentially making a judgment call of how much does it look like gold. And I'm like, well, I've got very dark shadow on the hip here. So I probably need to bring that up a bit.
So Anne, Kamalisum?
Yes.
I'm sorry I jacked that name up. I wanted to know if you plan on teaching any classes at ReaperCon this year.
Yes, I'm going to teach 2. Ron hasn't sent out the email yet, so I don't know which 2. I'm thinking about revamping my color mixing class and maybe doing 1 or 2 sessions of that.
So we're going to bring in a giant mixer and we're just going to mix there. And
Well, I'm more thinking I'm going to actually draw out some stuff on watercolor paper and have people mix paint in the class to show them how pigments act.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you can, hopefully it makes people a little more happy with mixing and more comfortable. There we go. That's what I like.
So 500-600 people, one class?
Oh, boy. No, maybe 10, though. I could probably do 10.
Speaking of ReaperCon and classes, so thank you, Cam, for bringing that kind of stuff up. When they show up, guys, they're gonna go
There.
fast. So
Yeah, be ready.
attentive. Be very
Be
attentive.
ready. Yeah, the giant mixer would not work well for class because not only is it loud, it takes a long time, Silverthorn. Like, the mixer has to mix in like 2 minutes. Like, we'd sit there for 2 minutes. The mixer takes a long time. All right, so let's put a bright white highlight on this. I'm liking how this looks so far, but now I want to highlight these top scales with pure white and get an idea if I need to go back in and kind of draw in those areas between the scales or if that's going to go well enough. Tickets for ReaperCon in general are already available, Bill Robertson, but tickets for the classes go up afterwards because you have to have a main ticket before you register for classes. Is that correct, Collins?
From my understanding, yes, that is an accurate assessment. The other thing is after ReaperCon, we get the ReaperCon tickets started because then that kind of lets us know where our jumping off point is as far as classes and teachers and so on and so forth. Although, last year and with the success of tickets this year, we're going to try and get as many classes as we can in with as many teachers as we can in because, we sell out every year, but I don't think anything has gone as fast as we did this year. So
yeah, there was insanity. So I expect those classes to disapparate pretty quick.
We had also talked about, and this is really this dives into the space of Ron and Adrian questions, but they are definitely working on ways to make it available for some of the classes to be purchased later. So they're going to try and
do waves.
I believe, do waves. So
I always liked it when we did waves. Yeah. Yeah, I thought the waves were a good idea because then if you miss the first wave, you at least have a shot at the second wave, just because your schedule gets in the way or something.
And it keeps people from hoarding classes. I know it's never anybody's real intention, but a lot of times when people are buying classes or they're getting those tickets or they get everything they want to do first and they kind of figure out what they want to do and drop them back in. I will say as a rule of thumb to anybody that's new that plans on being at ReaperCon, don't take more than 4 classes.
Yeah, take one class a day.
4 is probably still pushing it. There's a lot of information that these instructors give you during those classes, and you're going to want to practice them as soon as you get done with the class.
Yeah, like go back to your table and sit down and try the stuff we show you. Exactly. A lot of people take 8 classes, and then they end up not even attending like 2 or 3 of them just because their brains are totally exhausted by the time it gets to Saturday. So we'd much rather have those classes stay in the pool for somebody else to get them. So now I'm just tuning. I'm just outlining a couple of scales on the bottom. I hit the top with a little bit of pure white. I'm going to go back in and do more. I lost a little bit of my roundness here, so I'm going to actually bring highlights down more into those. As far as class prices, I got no idea. We try to scale it so that, because the classes are a big part of what makes the convention work for us as far as affordability, so each class has to make a certain amount of money.
It also really depends on what the subject matter is.
Yeah, and who the instructor is as well.
Absolutely.
So we do scale it that way as well. And how big the class is, because some of the more advanced techniques really do, like, you want a small class because the instructor's going around to each person and it's a very difficult technique. So that there may be smaller classes for those, and so they may be more expensive. So.
And Bug looks like a good point too. Don't want to miss out on the fun stuff that we have doing. We're definitely making steps to plan more activities so that there'll be more things to do during ReaperCon besides just classes.
There we go.
Oh, look, that's looking good.
Yeah, I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot. Awesome. So if I want it yellower, because it could be a dark brass right now. In fact, if I did, Came Awesome, in classes, each classroom has a paint caddy to share. So usually you don't have to worry so much about bringing a specific paint because otherwise, God, you'd have to bring a ton of them. Do bring the paints that you want to work on. Like if you bring a project to work on at the com because everybody's sitting at tables and painting during the convention when they're not in their classes, just bring those. Bring the paints for your project is a good idea. So yeah. Yeah, there is a lot more. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot more than classes going on. And every year the gaming section gets bigger. So.
And I would not be surprised if Ed makes a revitalizing attempt to have another fun convention game like we had last year.
Oh, yeah.
So I would expect at least that as well. Board games. There was a board game kind of checkout table. So that was also there.
Yeah, see, it's totally stuff to do all over the place. So don't worry that if you're not like blocking in your schedule with classes that you're going to be bored.
And those are people that are streamers that are going to be there. Please let me know. We're working with Frank from Nightheart Gaming to really kind of pack in some content versus last year. So There will be material for those of you who can't be there. There'll be stuff for you guys to see. And if you are there, come by and check us out.
Hello. Is that the carpe fish Ghost of Christmas Future? Maybe I've just been watching too much Overwatch League. Bird with a brush. Oh yes, go attack Kevin at the board games library. Kevin will teach you how to play games.
And he knows most of them.
Yeah, he does. He's got an impressive
If not all
knowledge
of them.
base on that. You're letting people beat you at Warlord?
Jacob, I will tell you the same thing that I've told my wife for all the years. I don't let anybody beat me. Now, when I lose, but I try to win everything I do. The often misunderstood thing is that I don't cheat. I just use up all of my real life luck on rolling dice in miniature games.
Alrighty. So now I'm going to glaze. I decided I wanted a little more yellow. And so I'm using lantern yellow, just like I told you guys. Now, I could have just mixed this in. If I had mixed a little bit of lantern yellow into each of these colors, I would end up with a lot of the same result, but I decided that I would try the glaze technique instead. So just a little bit of paint, and I'm just going to throw a brush full of water in it. Remember, we want it to be really just like colored water. So if I'm going to put my thumb up here and I'm going to do a brush stroke, it's barely visible. See, it just tints that surface a little yellow. That's what I want. That's a glaze. So you're going to paint it. I'm going to use a big brush. I'm going to load it up with that. I'm going to paint it over the whole surface. And you're going, oh my gosh, she just messed everything up, everybody. Ah! No. And then you rinse out your brush and kind of squeeze out the water and go in and kind of slurp off the excess. You don't want it to dry in the cracks because it's going to dry funny because it's got so much water in it. So go in and slurp. That's a technical term. I hereby give it to you. And usually I try to pull mostly from the edges, but when it's this wet, I can actually touch the middle. Once it starts to dry, never dab at the middle, or you're going to strip up paint and make it look terrible.
Can you, as a rule of thumb, what is too wet versus not too wet?
As far as
Being able to push it in the center versus pull it from the edges.
Oh, if it's still shiny, if you can see that the top is still shiny and it's not starting to get dull on the upper surfaces, then you can still do it. Yes. Yes, always slurp, but try not to blurf. Yes, exactly. Blurfing is bad, but I blurf way too much. Yes, it's magic, Cassandra. First it's ruined, then it's not ruined, and it got yellower. Notice how it matches closer to the loincloth now. And it also had the effect of bringing up my shadow a little bit, and it also knocked down my highlight, so I'm going to have to redo my little highlight, but that's a small price to pay. Okay. They use it for carpe on Overwatch League, which is one of the, because carp, right? So I had wondered. A standard fish emote. That's what the internet has come to, guys, when fish emotes are standard. I think my white needs to be a little bit stronger. Boop, boop, there we go. My white was better for layering than for spot highlights. Usually for spot highlights on NMM, you do want it a little bit thicker. So I'm saying about now it's probably more like I want to say a 2 to 3 to 1. 3 to 1 maybe? Paint to water? Maybe 2 to 1. White is odd because it covers so well. So sometimes if you haven't been keeping track, you lose track. Yeah, boop, boop. I do a lot of boops. Boops, blorfs, and all the other weird specialty terms.
Splishy, splashy noises?
Yes, I do a lot of special effects. Now, this still might not be quite strong enough. Well, we'll see. I'll try it. You want it a little bit thin because you don't want it to be like huge and like obvious that you're doing dots of white paint, but you do want it strong enough that it makes a difference. So I'm going to go over my areas that I did before and put a pure white highlight on them. These top ones, I'm just doing the very tips because I want it to be kind of a rounded highlight. So you almost see I'm just doing kind of a flower shape. Like if that's the center of the flower, I just did all of the ones around it. To keep my highlight rounded, I am going to hit a little bit of the edge of this one, a little bit on that one, maybe a tiny bit on this guy. Just to bring it up a little bit. So yeah, so now we're back up to shiny and flashy. I do think I need a little bit more though. Lost a fair amount of highlight there. I'm going to concentrate toward the bottom of each scale because that's probably where it's going to catch the light. There we go.
Silverthorn for the dad joke of the day.
Oh. Oh. Alrighty. So now we're back up to shininess. I didn't think I could
If you
do a
could,
little highlight.
Anna, where would you say like if I was looking at this model
Yeah.
with the non-metallic highlights that we're doing, where would you say the focal point is? Like if I was the character, am I looking straight on here, or is
Ideally, yeah. Well, and this is the thing, right? With NMM, there's always a viewing angle, right? So I'm kind of painting for 2 viewing angles right now, which is why I've been spreading my highlights toward the front here as well. Because the regular viewing angle is obviously going to be head on, and a lot of the detail is going to cluster up here, so that's where you naturally are looking at the figure. That's part of why I made her hair light, because her skin is dark. But then, since you've got this detail here, chances are somebody's going to turn it to look at it. So I do want it to look good straight on and from the front. So I will actually, I was just moving to extend my highlights just a little bit on the front here to make sure that it looks correct. And it really, I mean, a lot of people used to criticize NMM and still do because they say it has a limited viewing angle. It only looks good from one angle. That's not really true. You can kind of do some tricks and get it to read well. Because the minute that I can see this, but then the minute I turn it, I really can't see this as well. So anything I do on the edge of these scales isn't going to be visible and it's still going to look correct. So I think that when it comes to viewing angles on a figure, especially a smaller figure, it's usually the front and the back. As long as your NMM looks good from those angles, great. If you look at it from the side, like if there's an obvious detail that somebody's going to go look at, kind of double check it there, make sure it doesn't look totally off. But in general, you don't have to be as persnickety as it sometimes is suggested. I'm actually going to get the edges of these plates. They're going to go into a shadow under her arm there, so I don't need them to be crazy amazing, but I do want to highlight the scales down here on the bottom too with my lighter color, maybe with a little bit of white mixed in. Your reflected light is never as strong as your overhead light if you've got an overhead light source, so you never go up to pure white on your bottom scales here, but you can do a mixture of pure white and your highlight to make them stand out better. So you do paint every individual scale a little bit, but you don't have to paint each one like it's its own thing. There we go. Now we're shiny. Now we're shiny. Shiny. Hey, retired android. 2D4. Thanks, Evil Elvis. Oh, you memed Silverthorn? Oh, no. All right. So let's see. What is our time at, Reaper Collins?
We are at 48 after. That puts us 12 till.
All right, so I can do these little plates up here, but I might not get to the skull. I might do this center section on Monday, because I do want to talk about like when you've got something complicated like this where you want to do a regular color and you want to do NMM, how do you tackle that with all that fine detail, and how do you do fine detail on something like or NMM on something like a skull. So that's probably what I'll do Monday, because I'm enjoying painting her, so I kind of want to keep at it. But we'll just do these little plates here now. So, all right, she's got a plate rim that goes down there, and this goes up here. Looks like I actually missed a little bit of flash there. I'll have to grab it when I go downstairs. And then we've got these plates up here. Now, I will say that if you had wanted to do something contrasting, you could do silver around these rims here instead of gold. Or if you're going to do gold around the rims here, you could have chosen to do a colored scales, like dragon scale or something, inside, and gold around the edges. That would have been totally doable as well. I may regret that I did them in gold, although I don't think so because I like how they look.
Is that a plate or a mold line on her?
This?
Above the actual scales on the big plate, there's that line in the center.
Oh no, I think it's the edge of the plate. Either that or they were very clever about the mold line. But the edge of the plate also goes down this side here, and a little bit along the bottom. I guess it could be, but I think it's an actual detail. I'm going to paint it like an actual detail.
Hey.
Long as nobody can tell for sure, we're good, right? So here is much more, we know that the edge here is going to stick out and catch the light because it kind of curves out over the hip, and then this upper edge is also going to catch the light, and because the upper edge is pointed directly upward, it is going to catch a pure white highlight. I'm going to use the side of my brush to just catch that. You don't have to sit here and try to paint it like this. You can use the side of your brush and just run your brush along the top edge to get some white on there. And then just, do it a couple times to make it stand out. See? Easy. Easy peasy. That's the easy, sneaky way to do edge highlighting. Just use the edge of your brush, side of your brush, and run it over the edge. And that gives me a highlight. I'm going to go and get my second highlight. I'm going to bring it up down here. Just hitting that area, a little bit of this area. So that's now that plate's coming up. Lesson in painting mold lines like they're part of the model. I don't know if that's a mold line. I think it's probably intentional. I don't know. I'm gonna say it's. Yeah, JT, I'm with you. It's okay, Reaper Miniatures. We used to call that. Well, if you're texting, it's called your thumbs are drunk. Sorry, my thumbs are drunk. So yeah, let's go up a little bit higher on this highlight here because it's looking right, but it's not looking as bright as down here, and it does need a brighter highlight. So grab a little highlight, add some white to it. Maybe even add a little bit of lantern yellow if I feel daring. And why not feel daring? It's Wednesday morning, halfway through the week. And tomorrow I'm going to be in Santa Fe having fun, so I can be a little daring. It's all good. It is actually a really cool model. She has a lot of interesting textures and places on her to play with. I got a little bit overboard, so I'm going to go back and grab some of my earlier color and fudge that out a little bit. You can always just wet blend a little bit if you go a little too far. It's not a big deal. Never stress out. We're using our paint so thin, guys, that we could repaint this plate like 15 times and never lose detail or see globby paint. So it's one of the big reasons to use thinner paint. There we go. Get that bottom edge and get a highlight over here where it sticks out. And now we look like we're NMMing. Sweet. All right, so up here, this is more of a vertical plate, so it's going to have a dark shadow. Just like here where we had a highlight, dark shadow, up here it's going to have an edge highlight on the top with a dark shadow under it. And then we'll blend it back up, and then it'll probably be dark between the plates. So actually I'll block in that darkness first. Put a dark shadow at the bottom. Dark shadow right under the top. So that's got a bit of darkness to it now. That's good. Yeah, Holly Monster, I'm with you. Friday's awesome.
Yeah, I really like Fridays. It's just a couple of days away from Monday. Just like let everybody know that Monday's just around the corner. It's the best part of Friday.
Colin, such a killjoy. Don't think about it, everybody. Enjoy your Friday.
Because Mondays are coming. Choo-choo.
Monday's eternal. There we go. We'll do that. Excellent, excellent. So there's my plate. It's mostly dark, but there's going to be some light that bounces back up at it, especially from down here. They're probably in the center of the plate, so I'm going to go with my highlight there. Start with a mix of my midtone and highlight. Make it blend in a little. Fun. There we go. There we go. Now we got a lighter band there, and I can bring in my true highlight color now. Just bring it a little bit lighter. There, that suggests a lighter color. I can carry it a little bit further down. Yeah, so kind of like that. I can blend that in a little bit better too, but I'm mostly trying to block it in so you guys can see the effect, because placement of your highlights and shadows is everything in NMM. If you cannot blend, at least get your placement correct of everything.
Mm-hmm. Good try, Grim. We're one, appreciate the sub, and two, the attempt to get rid of the greatest day of the week. That puts us at only 9 away from being able to do Q&A time with Anne.
Yes, it's true. Getting dangerously close. So there you go, guys. There's some gold NMM on a hip armor. You can see it. Notice it looks good from pretty much every angle. I didn't do the outside rim because I don't think we have time, but I would pretty much just block it in. This lower lip is going to face the light, so I'd probably make it light down there. I definitely need a highlight up here on the edge, maybe one there. Let's do it quick. So this has got to be light. It's facing upward. This is going to have some bounced light. That's probably going to be in shadow, but the back side of this plate may have some light from up here. We got some light
Holly,
down
thank you very
here.
much for that sub.
Yay! 8 subs away from Q&A with Anne. What did you do to yourself?
I was doing my count laugh.
Oh,
we said a number.
I see, I see.
Yeah,
It sounded like you just bit your tongue or something, you know. There we are. All right. There we go. That's a little better. There, now you can see. And does it look good from here? Yes, it looks good from here. Does it look good from here? Yes, it looks good from here. That's all that matters. And I totally forgot to paint the loincloth back there, so I'm going to block that in.
I believe
Believe it is about time. There we go. Now you guys can see it a little better.
I think it was Taz. Taz pointed that out earlier.
What?
The missing painted space.
Yep. Yeah. When I was blocking in the yellow, I just missed that little space back there. So there we go. There is some gold NMMs for you. I like painting gold NMMs. Gold is one of my favorite colors. And the thing is about gold, guys, there are so many different colors to do gold with NMM. Like every painter you talk to is going to have a different recipe for gold NMM, and chances are they've also had like 5 different ones in the past. We're always kind of messing around with it to try to make it look really like, you know, make it look great to us. So definitely. So remember our colors for today, more or less. Let me get their numbers out to the world here. Black and brown is shy.
If you can pull them down
Yeah,
to
I'm
that
going
bottom
to.
line. Okay.
Yeah, there we go. All right, so our base coat was rich leather with a little bit of black and brown, which gave us this nice bronze color to start with, a nice solid color. Then our next highlight went up to polished leather with a tiny bit of NMM gold highlight. The next one was NMM gold highlight with a tiny bit of polished leather. We glazed with lantern yellow at the end to make it more rich. Our darkest shadow was black and brown, which we originally used with our base coat. And then we had a pure white highlight like you need with NMM. Pure white.
Can you rotate me the numbers so that I can put the numbers
Oh
in
yeah,
chat?
137 9429 9430 9303 9407 and 9039 for pure white. Here I can scooch.
All right.
Yay!
Numbers are at least in the chat so folks can...
Yeah, so there you go. All right, guys.
You need a razor.
Yeah, these leather colors, don't underestimate these. These are extremely useful colors. Rich leather and polished leather.
Well, I hear browns get used a lot in mini painting in general.
Yes, yes, definitely. Definitely. Bingo. But wait, I didn't mention, never mind.
Oh, yeah, no. We still got time, so you know, do all the things, your closeout stuff.
Oh, my closeout stuff. Yeah. Things and stuff. Do you want face cam or do you want mini cam still?
You tell me what you want.
I don't care. Go to face cam. Oh no, he forgot to disable the splooge.
Lamb.
All right, guys. So yeah, I have a Patreon. So many of you are already on there, and I appreciate it more than you can say, especially now that I'm going to be freelancing. It matters more than ever to me to not have to worry about how I'm going to pay for health insurance every month. So my Patreon is patreon.com/paintingbig, all one word. Go on, take a look at what I got. I do a lot of PDFs on there, which a lot of people like as a companion to the videos and stuff, so that's a happy thing. I have a Discord where I share some stuff on my own projects and generally answer a lot of people's questions. So yeah, that is my Patreon. Yeah, we still don't know what the trigger is, do we, Tezlanch? Collins found it yesterday, or John found it yesterday, but then I don't know which one it was.
Mm-hmm. Trigger for what?
For Anne's Patreon. It's not exclamation point Anne's Patreon.
Oh, I just looked it up and dropped it in.
Oh, okay, cool. Sweet. Alrighty. Yeah, rule number 3 of mini painting. I would say, Bill Robertson, that I would cut that with a darker neutral brown. If you don't know what color to paint it, a darker neutral brown. Because if you try a lighter brown, you could get in trouble because a lot of those lighter browns are yellowy or orangey, and it might clash with what you got already. So yeah. I love muddy brown and russet brown. Muddy brown 9028 and russet brown 9199. I use those all the time. And black and brown 9137. Those are my favorite dark browns Yeah, there we go. Reaper Miniatures just shot out the link to my Patreon. Yay! And thank you guys who subbed yesterday. I'm going to send you welcome emails as soon as I get a second to breathe. So much to do. Oh my God. I hated moving last time, and packing up the house is taking forever this time. Because I'm trying to... Exclamation point, Anne! We should just put another exclamation point on the end.
You know, I know
Mahogany
the commands
brown
are
is
here.
very red, Nomad Zeke. So just remember that. You'll allow it. Thanks, Bill. Yeah, shield brown is nice when you have muted colors on your model, especially because it's a little bit of a little grayed out of a brown. It's also great as for wood, obviously, as done. Everybody's trying to find the exclamation point now. It's all good. Colin's linked it at the top of the page right there. Thank you very much.
Boom.
Yay! Oh, mahogany brown for red hair. Yep, I used that for Sophie's hair when I was first painting Sophie the Succubus. Yeah, it's same thing with Shadowpawn the Assassin. That's exactly what I'm doing right now. Is I'm going through a bunch of boxes that I didn't really sort when I hauled them to my new place, and throwing out like half of my life because if I haven't looked at it in 2 years, it does not need to move with me.
Makes sense.
But that takes a lot of time.
We do that.
So,
We do that culling all the time.
Yeah.
Every time we move or rearrange something, it's like, well, why are we keeping this?
well, have you looked at it in 3 years, right? Yeah.
Outside of pictures that we just kind of have to keep.
Right,
And
right.
even then,
Mementos, right. And it has to be a pretty good memento.
I try to get rid of those too, but.
Okay, Rings. Well, we won't see you for the 3 p.m. show, but enjoy your work.
With that, we're gonna head on out.
Yeah. Yeah, we're
And
wrapping it up.
We'll see you guys that are available at our 3 o'clock show.
Mm-hmm. Yep, where we're going to be painting the dragons that never end. I will be working on the white dragon, doing a lot of the same stuff that I did last week. For those who missed it, I'm going to be working through all of those scales, getting all those scales done, because I do want to get all that done before I leave. So that is the goal, everybody, is to get the Dance of Death done before or on the 26th.
It'll be awesome.
Yes, it'll be awesome, and we'll be chill. Like, painting scales is so chill and zen, so, come hang out with me. Hang out with me for an hour while I paint Mr. White Dragon. Alrighty.
All right, we're going to head on over to Old Miniatures Den.
Yeah. Miniatures Den? Awesome.
we like
Let's
some
go
looking.
and raid them. Share the Reaper love. And don't forget about the shows later today. After that, don't we have something Wednesday night? Or don't
Yep.
we?
No. You at 3, and then that's kind of it.
Oh,
as far
okay.
as I know.
It's Anne Day. Wednesday's Anne Day.
All right, here we go, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.